What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Better Biomed. Holy cow. I finally got the last components in, and I was able to assemble my vacuum chamber, and it's working. After how many failures, it's finally working. Let's flip this around and I'll show you what it looks like today. All right, guys, so this is a VP120, but in pump only. So it used to have an automated door. The up and down for the door used to actually do something, but now it doesn't. Now I manually lift the lid, stick my stuff in there however I feel like, and then drop the lid. I did that because the way the solenoids are wired up, it requires a low in order to activate my solenoids. Whenever the Arduino boots up, it activates lows to refresh all its solenoids, and it would move the lid when it boots. And if it's already to its limit, those limits are not in line with the motor. They're actually logical limits. And that means that the motor still has power, even though it's at its limit, and it can and did sit there and grind a little bit. It does not like that. So I ended up making it just a manual lid. So I had to change out some of these guys right here. Now this is a vacuum lifter. You can see right there is lifted a little bit. And this bar will lift up automatically when it's at that time in the cycle. And it uses vacuum pressure to do that. And there's a tiny little solenoid. And that little solenoid was in one of my earlier videos, and I ended up having to rebuild it because it was it had a tiny little broken magnetic wire on the solenoid. It's a tiny little guy, like this big, 12 volt. And I've come to find out I had two large solenoids in there that you guys seen in the other videos. They're wired in parallel. So I said, hey, if I got two solenoids that are going in the same direction, why don't I just increase the vent time and just use one solenoid and use the other solenoid to power the vacuum riser bar? But what it was doing is, because it's such a large diameter for the vacuum tube, it was slamming this bar so hard. And I mean, the new pistons are smaller diameter than this, so it was even less mechanical advantage than these. These are large diameter pistons, super large, and that makes a lot of push-up power on the bar. But these ones here are slightly smaller in diameter, and what I had to do, here, I can just go ahead and show you. I had to drill, see these, you can see the heating element right there, it wraps along the top. I had to drill it at a larger diameter because the new ones are a larger diameter. Here you can see the old posts, and those are what, 1/4 inch brass. The new ones are like 3/8 of an inch. So I had to drill it bigger because you see how these posts sit up in there like that. Well, I had to align it, and then I had to drill for the new posts, and that was the whole production. And now it is all set. So I wired in the small solenoid instead of that big one, and I wired the two back into parallel. And the little solenoid, I fixed it. And now it's working. So I don't have a display now. It's set at a 40-second vac timer, and the only buttons that work now are on, off, and start, and then lid open. Start, if I press it again mid-cycle, it will stop it, and it immediately goes into seal. So I don't need any of these right here. So start, and then I can stop it if I want to, but I'm just going to let it run. And then lid open now does an extra feature. If I shut this off, or I have a power interruption or what, it will remain vacuumed. And that means I can't open the lid and I can't get into it. And that means I would have to take the side panel off every single time and pull a vacuum hose, and that would suck. So my other option was to either include a petcock valve here to open it manually, just in case it freezes, or what I can do is program a button to go into a 5-second vent, and that's what I did. So if I press the open lid, it goes into a 5-second vent, and then I can open the lid. So let's go ahead and power it up. There's a little bit of clickety clack that goes on inside. Press on and start. You can see it. I have a piece of bread and a nut in there. I know. It's because pieces of bread actually do a pretty good job of showing you the amount of vacuum, because the flatter the bread is, the higher the vacuum was in the chamber, and more so in the bag, because when this was squeezing in, there's still pressure in the bag, and the pressure couldn't exit because this was squeezing it. So 40 seconds, that gets me to a pretty deep vacuum for a vacuum sealer. And there it goes, it sealed the bag. So the bar just raised, and then it goes into a heating cycle, and then it vents. Now that it's properly vented, I can raise the lid, and I have a pretty flat piece of bread. Pretty flat. So there you have it, folks. That is it. It works great, and it's Arduino powered, and we are good to go. Time to put it in the kitchen. Thanks for watching. This is 3 parts series on how to get this guy back up and going, and now it's finally working.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with what you'd like to see in future videos.